Houston, are you ready for the event?
Then Jessica Muir. So we're going to now connect with the space station, apparently.
Houston, this is Station. I'm ready for the event.
Microsoft Education, this is Mission Control Houston. Please call station for a voice check.
Station, this is Microsoft Education. Do you hear me?
I hear you loud and clear. How do you hear me?
We hear you. Wow, Jessica, it is an incredible honor to speak with you. And we have students from three Washington schools. We have the NASA STEM program, and then a few of us from Microsoft and Xbox. What an honor, and we are so excited to be able to talk to you. And I'm going to hand it over to the kids and to Karen to ask you all the questions we have. Thank you for being with us today.
Hello.
You're very welcome. It's wonderful to speak to you all in Seattle. I lived in Vancouver, BC for 3 years, so I love the Pacific Northwest. Let's bring on the questions.
Well, we have our first student here.
Hi, my name is Himrit. I'm from Washington. I'm asking a question on behalf of student Gregory from Ohio. Their question is, what is the most beautiful, interesting, or unusual thing you've experienced, heard, or seen throughout your time in space?
That is a difficult question because there are so many incredible things that we experience and that we see every day. One of my favorite things to do, though, is in a little bit of free time that we have when we're not busy working on experiments or repairing things on the space station, I try to get to the window and look out at the cupola and look back on Earth. Actually, I was just there a few minutes before this, and it was one of my favorite passes. It was nighttime, and we were coming up over Asia, and you could see all of the bright squid lights from the fishing boats, the squid fishing boats that are shining these big lanterns down toward the ocean, and the squid come up, and you see all those green and orange lights in the water, and you can see all the city lights, and we passed further north. You could see distinctly the border between North Korea and South Korea, given that there's so many more lights in South Korea than North Korea. So many amazing things to see out of the window here. I saw an annular eclipse while I was on the space station, so I could actually see this gray spot on the planet below. So instead of looking all blue, there was one area that was all gray, and it was the shadow of the moon that was casting down on the Earth. So many amazing phenomena to see every day from up here. We are very fortunate to have this beautiful vantage point.
Washington State. I'm asking a question on behalf of Irem from Turkey. Their question is, by performing the first ever all-woman spacewalk, you've inspired me. Thank you. Why do you think there are fewer female astronauts than male astronauts? How many have you met?
Well, thank you so much for that. It really meant so much to both Christina and I to see what an effect it really had on the planet. And for us, we were just out there doing our job that day. But once we saw how much people really reacted to it and how much it inspired and made people excited about the space program, excited to pursue their own dreams, it really meant so much to us. Right now, well, it is true that there have been fewer female astronauts than male astronauts, and that has really been true historically through a lot of the STEM technical fields, so science, technology, engineering, math. We have had an underrepresentation of women in the past, and there are many reasons for that. But the good thing is, the very positive thing is that is changing in the right direction now. Right now in the astronaut office, we have about 33% of the office is female, so not quite half yet, but we're trending in that direction. And in my class, we were selected in 2013, and there were 8 of us, and we actually did have 50% women and 50% men. So as you can see, we're moving in the right direction. By the time you guys are applying to be astronauts, who knows, maybe it'll be even more than half.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Jada from Washington State. I'm asking a question on behalf of student Galia from the United Arab Emirates. Their question is, what do you think of the future programs that call for flights to the moon and Mars? Should we focus on returning to the moon and building a new station to carry out important experiments, or is it better for us to go to Mars?
Well, our plan at NASA right now is to go to the moon. We'll be sending the first woman and the next man to the moon, hopefully in the next several years, and that is through the Artemis program. And I think it is a very important first step to first return to the moon before we go further to Mars. Really, we will be using that destination as a proving ground to help demonstrate how we will get to Mars, and then we will use that as a launching point in order to make that next step. So the moon is really far away from us. Right now, here on the International Space Station, I'm only about 250 miles away from the Earth. The moon is 250,000 miles away, and Mars, depending on what time of year it is millions of miles away. So we really need to use this incremental way, this incremental process of demonstrating technology, demonstrating all the things that we need to do to accomplish a successful mission. So I think what we're doing right now at NASA is the right thing to do. We're still maintaining this research on the International Space Station. What we're learning here is helping us get back to the moon. Then what we'll be learning on the moon, we will be using to take that next step in going to Mars. So I think there's a place for all of it along the road. And if we take one step at a time, that will really guarantee our success in the end.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Itasha from Washington State. I'm asking a question on behalf of student Ezra from the United Arab Emirates. Their question is, why do astronauts use their legs and feet to carry or grip something instead of using their hands to hold while working on the space station? Do you feel pressure on your feet, and where do you feel the most pressure?
Well, if you think about it up here, since we don't have gravity, when you're on the ground, your feet, you don't need to do anything to keep your feet in place, right? Gravity is just pulling your feet toward the ground, and your hands are free to do whatever you want. Up here, we float. So if we don't secure our feet somehow, then we won't stay in place. So what we do is we actually can use a handrail in any location, and we can slide our feet underneath of that handrail. Or like I can show you right here, if I could put my feet underneath this here, then that will actually free up my hands. So now I can work with my hands. So that's really important for us to maintain some stability so that we can then accomplish our work effectively. So what happens is we have these handrails and different things that will hook our feet underneath, and you actually get the most pressure, I would say, about here at this joint between your toes and your metatarsals, and then sometimes here on top of the surface of the foot at the metatarsals. And so your feet aren't really used to that. When you first get up here, it takes some time to adapt to that, and your feet are actually can be a little bit sore on the top as you're using them to hold yourself down. But then, you kind of build up the tolerance to that, and it becomes easier and easier. But, sometimes we have some marks on our feet by the time we get back to Earth because we've built up some small calluses on the tops of our feet instead of the bottoms like we would on the Earth.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Juliana from Washington State. My question is, what does it feel like to have your blood constantly rush into your head for months at a time? How uncomfortable is it to you, and is it a constant feeling?
So again, similar to what we were talking about for the last question, there is no upside down in space. So if I go like this, it all feels the same as the position that I was just in, even though it looks upside down to you. But you're right. Without gravity, our blood and our body fluids do kind of lift up in our bodies, and that's because on Earth, the gravity is always pulling that blood down toward your feet. So suddenly when you remove that pressure, things have this upward shift, and you can really feel it in your head. And I'll tell you, it feels just like if you're hanging upside down on the monkey bars. When you're in the rocket and as soon as you get into space, you feel like you're hanging upside down. And I felt like I was a bat, especially for those first few weeks. You felt like you were just spending all your time hanging upside down. So your head felt kind of full. Sometimes you felt a little bit congested. But your body actually is quite quickly to this new physiological set point, and things kind of reach a new homeostasis or a new general internal stability, and then you don't really notice that so much. So it really just lasts for those first few weeks where it feels a little bit odd. But I would compare it to the monkey bars, or if you know how a bat feels when they're hanging upside down.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Abigail from Washington State. I am asking questions on behalf of students Asdenasia from Malaysia and Alvis from Italy. Their questions are,
What research do you do aboard the International Space Station? What should I study if I want to be an astronaut and do the kind of research you do?
Well, the nice thing is we have a huge variety of different types of experiments up here. I'm actually a scientist, so I love all the different experiments